Welcome back to Storytime with Sean S. Or if you're just clicking on me, hey, thanks. We try to offer funny stories as a respite from the world because things are hard enough. Sometimes you just need a good laugh to end the day. One is titled The Popcorn Exit from our good friend Reddit. Okay, this next story is not mine personally. It's one I came across on Reddit, and I need to share it because it is without question one of the greatest workplace exits I've ever heard of. And I've heard a lot of workplace exit stories. So, a coworker gets fired. Now, workplace firings usually go one of two ways. Either the person goes quietly, or they go loudly, yelling, making a scene, maybe a few choice words on their way out the door. Classic stuff. This guy did neither. When security arrived to escort out this man, this absolute legend stood up calmly from his desk, walked to the break room, opened the microwave, and put in a bag of popcorn. Then he sat down in the break room like he had nowhere to be. Security is just standing there. His now former manager is standing there, and this man is sitting at the break room table waiting for popcorn. Security tells him he needs to leave. He holds up one finger. I need just a minute. Here's where the story takes a turn that nobody in the office was prepared for. He put on the popcorn for 20 minutes instead of 2. Now, I want to be clear here. Nobody knows whether this was intentional or accidental. The man himself has never clarified. And honestly, I think the ambiguity is exactly what makes this so perfect. Because what happens next was, the popcorn caught fire inside the microwave, in the break room of the office that he had just been fired from. The fire alarm goes off. The entire building has to evacuate. Every single employee in that office is now standing in the parking lot because of this man's microwave bag. And where is he during all of this? He grabbed his partially burnt bag of popcorn, which at this point is mostly just a blackened smoking object, and walked calmly out the front door, past the gathering crowd to his car, with his popcorn, just walking out, snacking on burnt popcorn, while the fire alarm echoes behind him. The person telling this story says, and I quote, "I'm still not sure if it was a complete meltdown or the most legendary exit ever. And honestly, I've thought about it. I've thought about it a lot, and I've come to the conclusion it doesn't matter. Whether it was intentional brilliance or accidental chaos, the result is the same. That man left that building on his terms, at his pace, with his snack. And nobody, not his manager, not security, not a single person standing in that parking lot could say anything about it, because technically, he was just making popcorn. A legend. A certified, alarm-triggering, partially burnt popcorn-carrying legend. I gotta agree. I've seen some firings in my time, and I've seen people quit, but I don't think I've ever seen that. I mean, what were the police gonna do? He literally was just making popcorn. Story 2 is from notalwaysright.com. This is an entitled people story called The Complaint List. At the time this story was written, the OP was a high school student. Here we go. I'm a high school student working a weekend job at a department store. Customer service desk, which means I'm the first person customers see when they walk in with something to complain about. I'm 17. I have authority over exactly nothing. I cannot take my own lunch break without permission, and yet, a woman walks up to my desk one afternoon with a sheet of paper in her hand and an expression on her face that looks like she's about to do something very important. She sets the paper down on the counter, smooths it out, and looks at me. I have a list of changes I want you to make around here. I shall read them out to you, and you will write them down so I can ensure you've understood every one. I blink. I say, and I'm proud of this, I say, if you like, you can email corporate and they, no, you will be talking to corporate. You will tell them what I want, and I expect every instruction to be followed. I want to explain to her very gently that I'm a child who works here on Saturdays because I'm saving up for a used car. I do not talk to corporate. I don't know anyone at corporate. I'm not even sure I know what corporate looks like. But instead of saying any of this, I say, "Ma'am, I work here on weekends because I'm still in high school and don't have authority on when I can take my own lunch break. So I'm not going to be very effective in talking to corporate." "I know that. I'm not an idiot. Obviously, you'll pass these on to your manager and they'll be the one to talk to your corporate office." And then she begins to read. Change 1. She expects the male and female restrooms to be swapped. They are, in her opinion, positioned in a sexist manner relative to the entrance because hers is further away and that's not acceptable. I write it down. Change 2. The lighting in the women's clothing section is apparently unflattering. She has a specific Kelvin temperature in mind. She tells me the Kelvin temperature. I write it down. I don't know what Kelvin is. Change 3. The music being played over the store speakers is, and I'm quoting here, aggressively mediocre. She has suggestions, several of them. Change 4. One of the fitting room doors has a sticky latch. She knows because she tried it specifically today to verify her complaint. This one is valid and I quietly decide to pass it on, but I write it down with the others at this point because I'm committed. Change 5. She feels the store's holiday decorations are being put up too early and that this represents a moral failing at the corporate level. Change 6. The shopping carts have a slight pull to the left. She wants the wheels recalibrated. Change 7. And this is when I start to fully disassociate from the experience. She wants store hours extended on Sunday mornings by 45 minutes because she gets out of church at 10:15 and the store doesn't open until 11. And this inconveniences her specifically. She goes all the way to 18. 18 items. I won't list every single one, but the highlights include a complaint about the typeface used on the in-store signage, a request that a particular brand of salted crackers be stopped that apparently they used to carry 6 years ago, and my personal favorite, a suggestion that the store implement a quiet hour on Tuesday mornings because she finds other shoppers' conversations distracting. I wrote down all 18. I'm not sure when I stopped being surprised and started being morbidly curious about what item 19 was going to be. Luckily, she stopped at 18, smoothed her paper out again, and left. I brought the list to my manager. My manager stared at it a long time without speaking, and then, and I love her for this, she typed up the whole thing, printed it out, and posted copies in the break room, the stock room, and apparently the back office where it stayed for weeks as a kind of communal entertainment. The restrooms were not swapped, the lighting was not changed, the cart still pulls slightly to the left, but we did get the fitting room door fixed. So if nothing else, 18 complaints produced exactly one useful outcome. 18 to 1. Honestly, better than I expected. Wow. Talk about having a lot of free time on your hands. I pictured this person in a business suit marching up with their list. So should we call them Business Suit Barbie or a Business Suit Karen? Let me know in the comments. On to our next story. Our next story is also from notalwaysright.com and it's another entitled people story, titled Too Fast to Function. Okay, this one's short, but it's a perfect little gem, so we need to savor every second. Our OP works at a call center and I've been there. I work at a call center, inbound calls, which means I sit at a phone, people call in, and I answer. That's the job. Simple, right? One afternoon, I pick up a call. "Hello, thank you for calling." "Wait, you're a person? You're actually answering?" "Yes, ma'am." "You're through to me at the company. How may I?" "You answered too fast. I had a whole list of errands I was prepared to run while I was waiting on hold. You ruined the order of my things." "What?" She hangs up before I can respond. Now, I want you to sit with that for a second. A woman called a company, got through immediately, and then hung up angry because we were too efficient. I shrug. I figured that's my weird one for the day, so I take the next call. 5 minutes later, the same woman calls back. Hello, thank you for calling. Oh my God, I'm through again. Am I the only person calling you today? We're not receiving as many calls as usual today, ma'am, so we're able to answer a little quicker than click. She hung up again because we answered too fast again. At this point, I let my colleague know what's happening, and my colleague loses it. We're watching the call queue, half expecting to see when she comes back in. Sure enough, third call, same woman. This time she gets through, and instead of hanging up, she's so furious about having reached us 3 times in a row, she demands to speak to a manager, to complain about how quickly we answered, and to discuss how the company plans to compensate her for her, quote, wasted time. I transfer her. I'm not sure what the manager said to her. I'm not sure what anyone could have said that would have been the right thing. Some situations are beyond words. All I know is, somewhere out there, there's a woman who called the company that had us pick up immediately, twice, and considered that a problem worth escalating to management. I think about her sometimes. I hope she got her errands done. I've done hard time in a call center before. The closest thing I can remember that something like this happened to me, there was one guy who called our department thinking he was going to be served faster, and he got an attitude because we weren't trained to handle the call that he wanted us to handle, and thought that we should be sent over to that department instead of doing what we were trained to do. Then occasionally you get those same people who thought they were skipping the line to talk to us instead of who they needed to talk to. Boy, were they unhappy when they got transferred back to the back of the line for the queue where they were supposed to be. Oh, memories. Not good ones, but memories. On to the next story. Story 4 is titled The Christmas Hostage. This story comes with a warning. If you have a sibling, especially a sibling who's a little too clever for everyone's good, this story is going to hit you somewhere specific and very personal. So the OP has a twin brother. So I have a twin brother, and my twin brother has always had a slightly different relationship with the world than the rest of us. We later found out it was a mix of autism and what I can only describe as a kind of Slytherin level cunning. He processes things very literally, and he has always had a gift for finding the logical leverage in any situation. Which brings me to Christmas Eve. We were young, kids, it's Christmas Eve and Mom is putting us to bed. And I am doing what any excited kid on Christmas Eve does. I'm talking about how I cannot possibly sleep because I'm too excited and morning cannot come fast enough. And my mom says what moms do. Well, you have to try. The sooner you fall asleep, the sooner morning comes. Completely reasonable, perfectly logical, the kinds of things parents say to children at bedtime all the time. My brother processes this statement for about 4 seconds, and then he turns to me. So if one person decides to stay up all night, the morning would be postponed for everyone? He pauses. He looks at me. Promise to give me half your presents or I'm staying up all night. I start crying immediately. I was devastated because in my child brain, this logic was airtight. He had discovered a Christmas loophole. My mom, to her credit, immediately stepped in and explained that's not how time works. That morning will still come regardless, and Santa does not operate on a sleep contingent schedule. My brother was not persuaded. He listened to every explanation. He considered each one, and then with the patience and precision of a tiny pajama-wearing attorney, he said, either I get out the presents or I get none. The choice is his. He had already decided what he was willing to accept as compensation. He had a position. He had a counteroffer. He had leverage. He was 7 years old. I, at 7 years old, was absolutely not equipped to negotiate with this. I cried for another 10 minutes while my mom was trying very, very hard not to laugh while also trying to discipline him, which meant she was doing that thing where you turn away so the kid can't see your face. For the record, I did not give him half my presents. He did eventually go to sleep. Christmas morning arrived as it was scheduled, regardless of his stated intentions. The leverage turned out to be hollow. But I will never forget lying in bed at 7 years old, genuinely uncertain whether Christmas was coming, because my brother had found a contractual gap in the concept of time. He's a great guy now, by the way. We laugh about it constantly. He maintains to this day it was a reasonable ask. I have an older sister who luckily never tried to lawyer us out of a Christmas, but I do remember one time I used to crawl everywhere as a kid because I can't walk. I remember trying to go as fast as I can, a la Sonic the Hedgehog, into the room where all the presents were. She grabbed me by the hips basically and wouldn't let me go. So I'm struggling like a running back, trying to get out of a tackle, screaming, "Let me go, let me go." We still laugh about it to this day. It wasn't funny at the time though. We've got our last story of the day. Our final story of the day is from brightside.me, and it's a funny work story. We can all relate to it because OP is running late. So I woke up late. My alarm did not do its job. On this particular morning of all mornings, I have to run the morning meeting at work. I'm the one presenting. Everyone is waiting for me. I have approximately 12 minutes to become a professional human being. I brush my teeth, I throw on my clothes, I grab my bag. I'm at the door in 9 minutes, which is honestly impressive. Now here's where the decision gets made. In my hair, I have curlers, the kind you sleep in to get beach waves. I put them in the night before. They're still in. I notice them. I'm fully aware that they're there, and I make a calculation. I can take them out on the way to the office. That's the plan. Take them out in the car? Done. No problem. What I did not account for was traffic, and also the fact that I had to mentally rehearse my presentation on the entire drive-in, and also apparently the complete and total evaporation of the curler situation from my memory the moment I started thinking about work. I walk into the office, I walk into the meeting room. Most of my coworkers are already seated, and I notice one by one their expressions are changing. Not all at once. One person looks up, their face does something, another person glances over, something shifts in their expression. Then another. It's spreading around the table like a slow wave. I'm standing in the front of the room with curlers in my hair. I realized this approximately 3 seconds after I should have. And here is what I did. Here is the choice I made in that moment. I decided not to acknowledge it. My exact internal reasoning was, if I act confident and like it's no big deal, nobody will say anything. So I pulled out my notes, looked at the room, gave the full presentation. Every slide, every talking point, eye contact, gestures, the whole thing with curlers in my hair. For 25 minutes, nobody said a word during the presentation. Not one person. To their enormous credit, every single one of my coworkers sat there and let me present as if everything was completely normal. In retrospect, it was either very kind to them or deeply cowardly of all of them. And I appreciate it either way. After it ended, my manager pulled me aside very gently and pointed at my head. You've still got. I know. I took them out in the bathroom. I went back to my desk. We never discussed it officially. 3 years later, I'm still not over it. And I know that somewhere in that building, among those colleagues, the curler presentation lives on. It is referenced. It is remembered. It is probably someone's go-to story at parties. And honestly, fine. That's fine. It's earned. I presented with curlers in my hair for 25 minutes and nobody stopped me. That's on all of us equally. The closest thing I can relate to that story is the jumping issue I have with cerebral palsy. It used to be really bad before they put me on a special medication, and I have Botox now every 4 months or so. There used to be a time in life where if you said the wrong thing at the wrong time, I would jump 6 feet in the air and you would think I belonged in the NBA as a good dunker or something. It happened one time in a class when we were supposed to be meditating, and a door slammed and I jumped sky high. I know everyone knew because they were laughing, but I never opened my eyes to verify, and I'm still mortified 20 years later. I hope you enjoyed today's stories because as usual, it was fun to read them, and we got some whole new places for different stories. If you're enjoying it, our time together doesn't have to end. YouTube right now on your screen is giving you some other stories of ours that you can watch to spend more time with me. It's totally worth your time, and I always appreciate every second and minute anyone ever gives me on this platform. I'll see you at the next video.